Andrew Rosindell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I rise to speak to Amendment 11 and the wider issue of pet ownership, already spoken about by many other members this afternoon. Pet ownership in rented accommodation is an issue that I have long campaigned for, actually, here in this House over many years. And some honourable members will remember the Dogs and Domestic Animals Accommodation and Protection Bill that I myself tabled and presented to the House in 2020, otherwise known as Jasmine's Law, which supported the principle of a pet in every home. The British people, Madam Deputy Speaker, care deeply for the welfare of animals, especially, I have to say, in my own constituency of Romford. As an owner of 2 Staffordshire Bull Terriers, sadly no longer with us, Buster and Spike, sadly no longer here, but nevertheless, we all understand how important animals are to the lives of human beings. And I know just how important the companionship of pets are to so many people, especially those who live on their own. Owning a dog or a cat or any kind of household pet improves both the physical and mental health of the person, provides vital companionship and helps to tackle loneliness. In fact, Madam Deputy Speaker, pet ownership is estimated to save our NHS around £2.5 billion a year by reducing the number of GP and hospital visits. Yet, despite these clear benefits, housing issues remain the second most common reason for animals being relinquished to animal shelters and sanctuaries, such as Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, where I was very privileged to visit only a few weeks ago, and charity, an organisation that I've had many links to over the years, particularly during my time as the Shadow Minister for Animal Welfare some years ago. And so, with growing numbers of people renting, it is absolutely essential that the effects of this bill will work in support of responsible pet ownership in rented homes, rather than put further barriers in the way. And that is why I must express my opposition to Amendment 11 and any clause that makes it harder for tenants to keep pets. In particular, the introduction of large upfront deposits. These will only serve to price out many people from owning pets, especially in the context of the ongoing cost of living crisis that we are facing today. It is absolutely wrong that someone is prevented from owning an animal that they love and they want to be with because of this situation. The law needs changing, and I've argued for this for many years, including with ministers in the previous government that I had to go and see, and eventually they agreed that this policy was the right policy, and I hope my own shadow front bench will reconsider the stance they are taking today. And I do commend the words of the Honourable Member for Uxbridge South and Ruislip, of Mid Dorset and North Poole, and of Paisley and Renfrewshire South. And I agree with all of their comments on this issue and thank them for raising it in the House today. And so, what should have been a bill to unlock millions of homes for pet owners now risks excluding them altogether, entrenching the idea that pet ownership is a privilege only for home owners. That cannot be right. And I don't believe it is what the government actually intended. Earlier proposals around pet insurance, and I know there are issues spoken of today, but they can be overcome. They provided a fairer balance between landlords' concerns and tenants' ability to meet costs. Insurance spreads the expense more evenly across the year and avoids the burden of large one-off deposits. It is disappointing that this approach appears to have been set aside by the Lord's Amendment. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, I urge His Majesty's Government to work closely with animal welfare charities and the animal welfare sector in general, developing the guidance that will accompany this bill. In particular, and I speak as an honorary member of the Kennel Club, perhaps I should have declared that at the start, a supporter of the Dogs Trust, Battersea Cats and Dogs Home, and of course cat protection, very important to always remember our cats. We need clear definition of what constitutes unreasonable grounds for a landlord to refuse a tenant's request for a pet. That clarity will help landlords and tenants alike and avoid unnecessary disputes ending up before the Ombudsman or courts. Madam Deputy Speaker, Jasmine's law has always been about the simple belief that people should not have to choose between a home and a beloved companion. We must not let this bill, through the Lord's amendments, particularly number 11, undermine that vital principle.